before the start. Yeah, my wrist so big that Neptune is stuck in orbit. I skirt off in the new whip, it's so fly, it's like a starship. I've been changing colors, shining like no other. Money isn't the issue, it's where from and I'm mothers. I can run the back, into the pad, make it back, no trouble. But they've been on my back, so I'm under the buzz around and bug them. I've been changing seasons, still haven't found my reasons. Trying to keep the beat flowing, water ice, you know the feeling. I don't know what I'm seeing, trying to feel better with my being. I'm all just sleeping, wild thoughts, vivid dreaming. I've been changing colors, shining like no other. Money isn't the issue, it's where from and I'm mothers. I can run the back, into the pad, make it back, no trouble. But they've been on my back, so I'm out of the buzz around and bug them. I've been changing seasons, still haven't found my reasons. Trying to keep the beat flowing, water ice, you know the feeling. I don't know what I'm seeing, trying to feel better with my being. I'm all just sleeping, wild thoughts, vivid dreaming.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, the first one on video. I'm not really sure how this is going to go, but who the fuck are you? And what do you do?
I'm a nobody.
Yeah, well, you know, aren't we all
or somebody
in one way or another? Wait. Cheers.
Oh. Cheers, fucker.
Yeah. Nice. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So come on, who are you?
My name is David Jr. Ludvik.
You're Junior?
I'm Junior.
You are not what I expected.
Yeah, people can actually see us now, huh?
Well, I'm going to lose a lot of subscribers on that.
Or maybe you'll gain some.
No, you never know.
If the subscriber starts down, you can always go back to your old school and start taking some off.
I think those days are long past me. All right,
we can get you an OnlyFans.
You're Junior. For those that don't know... For those that don't know, you were the very first person on the podcast.
I was.
You are now the very first person on the video that's going on YouTube. Sorry.
And it's kind of appropriate.
Then that's exactly why I wanted to have you. So tell everybody, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
So I'm a professional skydiver.
Mm-hmm.
I do stunts and commercials and stuff like that as well. And yeah, I just fucking live life.
Jump out of airplanes, live life.
Live life.
Instructor, all that shit, behind the scenes stunts.
Instructor, examiner, stunt coordinator. I do some stunts when it comes to skydiving and stuff like that, and
cool.
Some help with other types of stunts, like doing ground and stuff like that, and
behind the scenes
stuff for non-skydiving stunts and stuff.
Nice. Now, all right, let's jump it all the way back. And for people that have listened to the podcast that you've done with me before, or at least have, especially if they've listened to that very first one, this might be old news, but I want you to recap everything. So how did you get started in skydiving? Like, what was the first jump? What was it all about?
So kind of like you, I was actually I was flying before I was jumping out of them.
Oh, wow.
I grew up with an aviation background. My dad was the director of maintenance for Pan American Airways way back in the day.
Pan Am.
Pan Am.
Jesus Christ.
The airline that set the standard.
That's the guy, the kid, what do they call him? The airwayman that DiCaprio played. That was Pan Am, wasn't it? He said he was a Pan Am pilot.
Yeah, he was. It was one trip. He played the competitor.
Oh, that's right, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so your dad worked for the villain.
Dad worked for. I mean, they were the greatest airline it ever was until maybe nowadays. Some of the ones that
There are no great airlines anymore.
Yeah. I
sorry.
try to do it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a great time in aviation.
Yeah.
But growing up like that, it was natural that I would get into aviation in some way. So when I graduated high school, my parents got me a discovery flight. I went with an instructor, flew for the first time, and fell in love.
Okay.
So started flying, flew for about a year and a half, just getting to my PPL. And my instructor decided that we were going to try to see how many airports we could hit in 1 hour, just touch and goes.
Okay.
And where I was living up in Michigan, it was pretty easy. I mean, you could throw a rock from airport to airport.
Mm.
So we got to about 15 or so, and he points out in the sectional that we were getting ready to do a touch and go into, a skydiving operation. It had the little parachute symbol on the sectional, so it was a registered drop zone.
Mm.
And he's like, "You want to stop and check it out?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we stop, shut down, walk inside, and I'm look around, and this place is old school. I mean, it's wood paneling. You could see military boots sitting out, mechanics one-piece jumpers. And I looked at them, I was like, there's no fucking way in hell I would ever do this.
Now, what drop zone was this?
This was Skydive Tecumseh,
Okay.
which was at the time was the third oldest drop zone in the United States.
So it's like the loft in the movie Drop Zone with Snipes.
Not quite that, but yeah, it was kind of like
that.
So
That's awesome.
So I go back to flying, and I'm in college, and a couple of friends one day were like, "Hey, we're thinking about going skydiving. You want to come?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it."
Mm.
No shit. Showed up at the same place.
Really?
So I walked in. I was like, "Well, it's too late now. I've already paid a deposit." I'm like, "Let's just do this."
Sure.
So went through the course, got in the airplane. I was supposed to be the second person out. Got to altitude, and a storm rolled in.
Mm.
My buddy jumps out. Static line, parachute opens, and all of a sudden he's above the airplane, and I see the the jump master with his head sideways trying to look up to find him. He lands 2 miles from the airport. We circle for a little bit, and we land.
Okay.
So weather, not going to happen.
Right.
So I go home, and I'm telling my dad about it. My dad's always been, he was always a guy that would do crazy stuff. I mean, him and my mom's first date was a demolition derby that he was in, and he would have won it too had the engine not fallen out of the bottom of the car, so he took second place.
Wait, that was their first date.
That was their first date.
So he picked her up and went, "Okay, you sit in the stands. I'm gonna go fuck some shit up."
Pretty much.
All right, nice.
And I mean, they'd known each other. My dad's best friend was my mom's brother, so
That's still awesome.
it's amazing. So I told him about it, and he's like, "Oh, you're not doing this without me." So for his 55th birthday, I bought him the static line course.
Nice.
So he went through the static line course. We're getting ready to get in the airplane. Weather. Next weekend, weather. Next weekend, weather. Next weekend, weather. Next weekend, he goes out of town. I go out to the drop zone and make my first jump.
Mm.
So he comes back the following weekend. Like, "Okay, so this is your first jump for you guys?" I was like, "Nope, it's my second." He just glared over at me. I was like, "You little motherfucker." I was like, "There's no way I was letting you do it first."
Right.
So at that point, we both got hooked. So it was every jump together.
Nice.
If we're on the airplane, we're on the airplane together. Our 50th jump together, our 100th jump together, our 200th jump together.
That's awesome.
The first World Free Fall Convention together.
You know, there was a time when I would have said, if you told me that somebody was going to start skydiving at 55, I would have thought, "Oh, that's pushing it. That's getting up there a little ways." And now I'm fucking 52, and I could easily see starting a first jump course now.
Yeah.
Especially you hit what now is very much middle age. 50s is middle age these days, and you have that little middle age crisis and go, "All right, fuck." But if your dad was already destroying cars and stuff.
He was destroying cars, destroying skis, destroying himself.
Nice. So you really, he was your buddy for jumping.
Yeah, some fathers and sons would go fishing. We would go skydiving.
Nice.
So-
What did mom think of that? Because did mom jump?
Mom thought we were crazy at first, and then Mom came out to the drop zone and saw how we were on the weekend, and realized that it was a culture, just as much cult. I mean, a culture, a culture, not a cult, a culture. It was a culture as much as it was, and it was the people as much as it was the sport and the adrenaline and having fun.
Well, now let me ask, did your relationship with your father, was it the same before you started skydiving, or did it strengthen? Did it become more?
It strengthened for sure.
So
I mean, we were always close. I'm a mama's boy at heart, but I was always a daddy's boy as well.
Cool.
So like we would wrench on the cars on the weekend. He was my little league baseball coach, working 2 jobs mind you. He would work 2 jobs to make sure that we had everything we needed on the family. He was a hardworking guy. But he was at every wrestling match I had. He was even up until I went into college, and he was even going then. He was always there. So this just made it a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. It gave us something that was a little bit more common.
Sure.
To kind of go
so,
and do.
So Mom dug it for that.
Mom dug it for that. Mom hated the fact that we were jumping out of airplanes for the fear side of it.
Sure.
But loved the fact that we were spending that quality time together and just being there for each other. So
now, when you were doing all this and you're out jumping with your dad, well, first off, it probably makes it how old were you?
I just turned 20.
So a little bit easier to hit dad up for money to go to the drop zone if he's fucking jumping with you.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I worked hard. Like I started packing so that I could afford jumps.
Okay.
Like it wasn't one of those things that I was just,
sucking dad dry.
It wasn't one of those. I wasn't sucking on the real nipple,
Right.
No, it was, I worked for it, but my birthday gift turned into jumps. My Christmas gifts turned into jumps or gear or,
sure,
little bits and pieces, to kind of put stuff together. I got a rig for myself and I needed a D-bag. So a Christmas gift was
a D-bag.
A D-bag because that's what I needed. You know what I mean? So it was kind of cool. And same thing, flip it 180 and
sure.
And Christmas came along and I'm like, I'll just get him some jumps. I'll throw some jumps on his account. Or
right.
He needs a new logbook, so I get him a logbook. It was kind of stuff like that.
That's cool. So when all of this is going on, obviously you said you were packing to make money at the drop zone and stuff. Yep. When did you start transitioning into working in the sport as a jumper? When you and your dad were still hitting around all over the place?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. I was a college student. I was.
What'd you go to college for?
Aviation management.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I was following Dad's footsteps
nice.
one way or another.
And I suppose a lot of the times I'll ask people about college that have become full-time skydivers, and it's usually something completely fucking random that they're not using. But you kind of are using aviation management in skydiving with all the different facets of the sport.
For sure. I mean, and definitely now at the current level where I am, where I'm doing consulting and helping people start up drop zones, it's a little bit easier. I'm actually going back and I'm actually
big boy
using
pants
stuff.
on and everything.
I know, right?
Fucking cool.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a great time, and the only way to make money or to afford skydiving for me, I was working a full-time job. I was going to school full-time, and whenever I wasn't doing one of those, I was out of the drop zone jumping my ass off,
sure,
or packing, or coach course, static line course to get an instructor rating so that I could go do that free jump, because
sure,
everybody wanted that free jump.
Sure.
So if I had to work with a few students to get a free jump, go for it. Whatever I had to
awesome.
do to get that fix of jumping out of an airplane, right?
What was your first rating?
First rating was coach.
Okay.
But did
they require coach ratings when you got it?
When I got it, it was the very first one of the very first coach courses that was put out. It was right when the BIC went to the coach course.
Because and when that happened, though, coach courses were not first required for other ratings, were they?
If you had the BIC beforehand, they weren't.
Okay, because I was grandfathered in.
You were grandfathered in because you did the BIC before.
Calling me old.
Coach, I missed you by this much. I was literally the first.
Right.
One of the first coach courses ran in the United States. I was in.
Right.
So we're talking 2001 maybe.
Okay. Yeah. We were right there. Same time.
So
I
needed to get that. Then I got my static line instructor rating, and that was just to throw out students so I can get that free jump when the third one was out.
Sure. You got to jump.
I got to pull a static line in, bail out after him.
Nice.
And get a free jump. So, and then it was natural progression became a tandem instructor because my drop zone wasn't doing AFF at the time.
So you did the AFP program, or none at all?
Nothing. It was static line, and then the tandems and stuff.
That's cool though.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was fun.
And so meanwhile, you're still doing a lot of jumping with your dad. You're still traveling a lot with your dad, although I'm imagining not nearly as much because now you're working doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we would take off for the World Freefall Convention, and that was kind of our time. Like I'd save as much as I could, and I'd go to the World Freefall Convention. I would just rage.
And this was back when it was where?
This is back when it was in Quincy, the OG.
So the first time we talked about the World Freefall Convention, I think you had mentioned Quincy. And I made a sideways comment that it's not if somebody gets killed out there, it's when, and that I thought it was just insane back then. And then you told me what?
That in 2003, the second to last Quincy convention, my dad went in.
I still, to this day, look back on all the different things. It's not that I regret saying what I said. It's that I didn't know. I didn't know, and I didn't expect on the heels of that sideways comment for that to be coming. Because skydivers, you just as much as me, have pretty fucked up, dark senses of humor.
Yep.
I didn't expect to hear that. I didn't know. I mean,
it was something that obviously it was life-changing.
Yeah.
Clearly. And this was only a short time after Roger Nelson went in. So my drop zone had purchased an otter from Roger, a lease to purchase, and everything. Unfortunately, I know you've talked to Rook and Melissa before.
Sure.
That happened. So our entire drop zone got on the otter, and we flew for the memorial. And my dad was there with us. We went, all of us, and at that time there weren't jerseys. There were no jerseys out there. But we all had our staff shirt on, and we showed up 20 strong to support Rook and Melissa and the family and stuff. And I remember sitting with Dad, and we talked briefly about how difficult that must have been for the kids, for Rook and for the kids that were the same age, but for Rook and Melissa. And then August comes around, we're at the Freefall Convention, and he goes in.
How the fuck do you keep jumping after that? I mean, I know you were invested, but we're not talking about a friend or even a partner. We're talking about your father.
Yeah. My best friend.
Yes.
My family. I mean, the things that I wish I could have asked him beforehand.
Sure.
But I grew up with, I mean, for fuck's sake, his first day with my mom was a demolition derby.
Sure.
I believe she was on the back of the snowmobile with him when they were driving at night, and the lights went out, and he tried to jump over the road and wound up impaling the snowmobile because he went from a low to a high, thought he could do it, and impaled the snowmobile into the side of the snow berm. And this is back in Vermont, back in the days when they used to get massive snow, and they would have 6, 7, 8 foot of snow walls on the sides of the roads. And I mean, I knew, and this sounds so cliche, but I know he died doing something he loved doing.
That always sounds cliche when you say it, but that doesn't make it not true.
Exactly. I could think of so many other things that could have taken him. I remember my dad had a heart attack in his 40s. He had cellulitis, which is an infection that he got from a cut on his leg that almost killed him. Put him in the hospital, almost killed him. So I think back, and my mom and I have this conversation all the time, that I'm so glad that he went the way he did, and not from some debilitating Alzheimer's or something that was that would take him long and slow and painful.
I mean, I
just wish it wouldn't have been so soon.
I'm sure you've heard the same thing. I've had the comment made by people that don't want to skydive that, oh my God, that would just be a horrible way to die. And I always think completely the opposite. No, not really. I mean, at worst, you got a minute to realize you're fucked. And as a skydiver, especially a longtime skydiver, you're going to be so busy trying to fix whatever's going on that it's going to be kind of secondary in your mind where you're dealing with whatever the fuck is happening.
Yep.
So I can think of a lot worse ways to go out.
Absolutely. And I mean, the toughest thing about death, and we've talked about this before, the toughest thing about death is the people that are left behind.
Sure. In fact, we won't get into it too much on this one because we'll just go down this long bummer road and drink too much wine. But for anybody that's interested in that exact conversation, you and I were lucky enough to sit down with Omar Hijilan, and we talked specifically about that subject and about how people deal with death in different ways, and especially how professional skydivers that see more than our fair share deal with that kind of stuff. So definitely check that one out. You've been on more than a few episodes, including getting shitty drunk and eating hot sauce.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
we need to redo that with video.
Well, depending on how this goes, I may go grab the new bottle and just dip a finger.
Well,
It's
I heard it kills COVID.
It's hot sauce called regret. But anyway, so we're gonna go to slightly more upbeat stuff. You've fucked yourself up a lot in skydiving.
Yeah. So finish off what you were asking me before, though.
Yes, please.
How do you continue? When something is in your life the way this is, and it really is, like, I think skydiving is something that goes into your heart and into your soul. It was easy to stay. It was about a week of, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. And then I thought about what I would want if it was me.
Sure.
And I wouldn't want him to stop jumping. I would want him to excel at it. I would have wanted him to learn from it, help educate other people, and just be the best that he could be at it. So I kind of took his what I thought that he would want.
That's fair.
Knowing my dad the way I did, and I sucked it up and I forced myself to go do a jump, and I did it with my his godson, my cousin, was in the airplane, and I went and just did a hop and pop a little bit after his memorial, and just to get out and just to knock kind of the dust off, and opened up and cried my eyes out a little bit, and realized that it was going to be difficult, but just pushed on and tried to do the best I could for me, and to kind of, I don't really want to say make a name for myself, but just set goals and complete those goals in the sport.
Well, and without getting too deep into it, because we talked to her as well, your mom's a fucking rock star.
Yeah, mom's awesome.
I mean, to not only have to deal with the loss of her husband, but then to have to support her son as he continues not just to keep jumping out of airplanes, but to do some pretty intense shit jumping out of airplanes.
Yeah, I've done some cool stuff.
Yeah. Hence the reason I got to the how many times you've broken yourself in skydiving. There's been a few. In
skydiving?
I may
under my own accord, none.
Fuck you.
So I've hang on.
He's gonna get to it. Trust me.
I'm gonna get to it. So when I was learning how to swoop, I was given a DG number. For anybody that doesn't know out there, a DG number is a dead guy number. So my good friend of mine, hopefully he's watching this, Marshall Scalisi and I were both kind of pushing each other. We were kind of driving at the same time. We were both kind of learning how to swoop, and we didn't really there were no coaches back then.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there may have been a couple of guys from the PD Factor team that was starting out, Jim Slayton and Luigi Connie, who's been on your podcast before, and the Team Extreme with JC Colclation. Those guys, they were the first real swoop teams.
Sure.
The first real swoopers, but they weren't going around and coaching people. They were figuring it out for themselves as well.
Sure.
So I low turned my 120 Nitron and bounced off the ground, kept flying the canopy, bounced again, flew to a stop, sat up, looked at my legs. They were pointing straight. I was like, good, nothing's broken. And I laid there and waited. Luckily, one of the jumpers was a doctor for University of Michigan, so he came over and checked me out. He's like, yeah, nothing's broken. He's like, you're going to be sore, though.
Dude.
So I was lucky enough. I lived, and I've tried to train people so that they don't do the same thing that I've done. But besides that, all my pains and aches and everything that I've had happen have been while training other people how to be instructors.
Fair. Well, I mean, that being said, you became an AFF evaluator, so you're taking shots all the time.
AFF
all the time.
Instructor, then AFF evaluator, now examiner, and I've been an AFF examiner for 2005 or 2006, somewhere in that
By the way,
area.
To step back, the on-the-field jumper doctor, worst thing ever. Dude.
His name is Bob Domeyer. I got to give him a shout out. He's an amazing guy. He used to run the life flight department for University of Michigan.
I'm not telling you.
Badass four-way flyer and belly flyer. He was on multiple world records, and he was also the guy that was on the scene for Dad.
Okay, I mean, I'm definitely not doubting his qualifications, but when...
You don't necessarily want to be around on a drop zone for that, do you?
No, well, so when I trashed my neck when I blew up my stiletto years ago, I landed and managed to film the tandem landing that I was filming by holding my own head as the tripod, and then as soon as the tandem was done and I finished, I turned off the camera and fell over, and I had a doctor, chiropractor, come and give me an adjustment. No x-rays, no nothing. I can't turn my head. Here, lay on the table. I'm just going to... So he cracks me. He calls his physician wife to prescribe me wonderful painkillers. That was the best part. And I had to drive to the pharmacy to get back, and I stopped at the house near there for something or other, and then backed my truck into a telephone pole because I couldn't turn my head. Cut to all these years later, multiple, shit going on with my neck. So, yeah, dude.
Well, I heard...
if you hurt yourself on a drop zone, take the advice of medical professionals that are there on the field, and then go see a fucking doctor.
Well, I was there for your neck surgery. I was also there when your now wife, then fiance, tried to kill you
with an ice cube.
With an ice cube,
yes. She did.
Had you needed, I would have reluctantly given you mouth to mouth, but you might have died,
dude.
You very well might have. I probably would have called for help first.
I mean, the fucking iceberg that took the Titanic down was only slightly larger, for fuck's sake. At least that's how it felt to me. Granted, I was under still anesthesia, but
if anybody watching this wants to see any of the videos that I took of him while he was semi-coherent on painkillers, send me a personal message and I will share them with you.
Oh, one of them's up on YouTube. That one's up on YouTube. Yeah, you were there for that. By the way, thank you for that. I don't know if you're going to be around for the next one.
I don't know if I will or not.
Yeah.
I heard you got to go for it. I heard your neck is so strong.
I broke a titanium disc.
Or your head is just so big that you broke a titanium disc.
Yes, I currently, right now, as we speak, have a broken neck.
It's got to be some kind of world record.
I'm the first person ever. I'm right now, at least as far as I know, and as far as my surgeon knows, I am the first recorded case of an artificial disc breaking. Cheers, breaking in me. So yes, right now I have that's why I'm kind of a little stiff as I move around, because I have a broken fucking neck.
I thought it was just because you're old.
No, unfortunately now what that means is they got to take they got to take the disc out because it's on the C6, C7. So they got to take that out, and now that's no longer viable for an artificial disc, so they got to fuse it. Luckily, C6, C7 is very little of the range of motion. So
I mean, luckily because you're getting older, you've got more wrinkles. So they won't be able to see the scar quite as much.
Here's the worst is, so they went in through the left side for the first time. They got to go in through the right side this time.
Now it just looks like you hung yourself.
Exactly. It's going to look like I'm a fucking failed suicide, or I came out of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can decide which one I am.
Definitely ugly.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's fucked, but I also have a very difficult time complaining about the first surgery. The second surgery, fuck you, the people that made this stuff. I'm holding my comment for... Anyway, but the first surgery, all self-inflicted. It's 25 years of skydiving, a lot of which with that big-ass camera helmet that you guys can't see, hanging on the wall for thousands of jumps and heavy cameras. And no, I don't want to wear a neck brace because I want to look cool. And
man, I'll tell you what, if I was as smart then as I am now, I would have been doing stuff like Tom Sanders and Joe Jennings and putting a neck brace on. I mean,
fuck yes.
Some of the jumps that I did in the early days with the red, when I was on the team, I mean, I had a couple of openings that were so hard that I did the same thing. Like I would pitch and grab, and I mean, we were doing it with Petras. So I mean, it's just pitch, grab, squint, and hope that everything opens up okay.
Yeah. You don't want to be relieved when your parachute doesn't almost knock you unconscious.
No.
I mean, I left a grapefruit-sized bruise on my chest from where my chin hit it, and I'm pretty fucking sure that's not supposed to happen. So, so you've had all the bumps and bruises and shit in AFF and all that. You've had one shoulder surgery?
Two shoulder surgeries.
Two shoulder surgeries.
So this one was from, I was doing XRW. I was doing a project with the team, and I was actually flying with the late great Micah Couch. Cheers to that.
Cheers to Micah.
Yep. And so we're flying some XRW over in Dubai, and one of the pilots was flying around. Max Heim was telling the pilot where to be for video, and he wanted some good photos and stuff like that. Max, I love you, but fuck you because your camera didn't work, except for 7 frames after the pilot flew in front of us and my parachute collapsed.
I heard that was a really exciting video.
That was an extremely exciting video. One of these days I'll actually publish it, but I don't know why I haven't until now. I've just been kind of hanging on to it.
You can give it to me to put up on the YouTube channel.
That I can do.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. So I went from flying fast forward to being upside down, flying fast backwards, and then back forwards again, all in about a second and a half, or about 7 frames of a camera shoot.
Nice.
I got to get the photos from Max. I never got them, but it's perfectly flying canopy, a little distorted, really distorted and me upside down flying the opposite direction over top of the canopy, and then distorted, and then me flying straight again.
Well, that sounds like it worked out okay.
Except for my shoulders took it. So, yeah, it kind of sucked. But anyway, get the one shoulder operated on. Everything's going good. I rehabbed it, back at it again. And then I was jumping with an instructor candidate for AFF, and he tried to do a spin stop on me. And he kind of did like a spin stop flyby.
Right.
And caught the arm and kept the arm as I was spinning, so I kind of felt a pop and tore my rotator cuff. So
the shit that we do, like if you just wrote down on paper and didn't say that skydiving was involved, saying that there's going to be an object in front of you that weighs somewhere between 130 to 240 pounds spinning really fast, and you have to run and use your body to stop it, people would be like, fuck you. And everybody getting their AFF rating goes, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Fucking Jesus Christ, right? There was, in fact, I want to make sure it doesn't escape me now. There was a project that you were involved with that was super, super cool, but I've had a few people ask questions about it. I interviewed the wonderful Ernesto Gainza.
Yeah.
Ernesto, I had him on the podcast. He was fucking fantastic and told me all about his different projects. And at the time, he was landing the smallest parachute in the world.
Yes.
And that was a 35 square footer.
Yep.
And my first thought was, who filmed him? It was you. All right. So Ernesto is not a big guy. And I know that the size of the parachute going down does not make it better for a smaller person, that it still has completely different flight characteristics.
Absolutely.
And super twitchy and crazy to fly.
Yep.
And I get that. But what was your wing loading and what was his wing loading?
I think his wing loading was about 4.6, 4.7 maybe.
Jesus
you
Christ.
can go back to the podcast that you did with him and double check it, but I believe he was around 4.6, 4.7 on a 35 square foot, and I was on a 66 loaded at about 4.0. I was wearing 2 weight belts. No. 3 weight belts if you count my belt.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, you're coming out of the fucking sky as well.
I'm coming out of the sky as well. And I'm doing it all while watching him and not watching what's coming out.
Yeah, and having to film what's going on. And not to take away from the accomplishment of landing a 35 square foot parachute, because I saw his B-reel and some of the fucking horrible openings and the cutaways and the intentional chops where this thing was just insane. And it's fucking crazy to watch. But I always wondered, how it worked out. And then, of course, Luigi, who I talked specifically about his with the 30, it was a 34.
Yep, 34.
Yeah. And he had sent me a picture that obviously, since it was before I was doing the video, I couldn't show, but he sent me a picture of what NZ Aerosport shipped him the parachute in, and it was a fucking legal envelope.
That's about what they sent Ernesto's in as well.
Oh, man.
I remember him getting it and opening it up and looking at everything.
I put Ernesto gave me some of the video to post specifically. Actually, he told me to rate his YouTube channel, which I did. Thank you, Ernesto. And there's a beautiful shot of that preparation and everything. And he's got 3 canopies kiting. I think one is probably like a 103 or something. Another one's clearly like a 150. Yep. And he's kiting this fucking napkin over his head.
Yeah, I remember when he did that. He did that on the runway.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now, you also have competed.
I've competed. So when I was a younger jumper, I set some goals for myself. In 2006.
You're not. Cheers. I keep them fucking liquored up for this podcast.
I don't know why. Oh man.
I keep everybody liquored up if I can.
Some over the top. Not mentioning any names. Mas de Siena.
Oh, if there had only been video for that.
Oh man.
Actually, we wouldn't have been able to show it. No. YouTube would have flagged it.
They probably would have. I still have pictures of him with a spaghetti.
My pasta bowl.
Pasta bowl, and he's just hugging it on the floor.
I've got pictures of that too. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I competed. I set a goal for myself in 2006, and I was going to start. I was going to take swooping seriously. I did my first competition in 2003, and in 2006 I decided I was going to go full in. I was competing, and that's what my goal was. So every FLCPA, I'd go down to Florida or wherever it was, and they were all down in Florida.
Sure.
And I would compete, and it was myself and Tommy Dellebeck that were going kind of head to head on all of them. He was first, then I was first, and he was first for a couple, and then I was first again for one, and it was always 1 and 2. And we were kind of pushing each other throughout. Nice. And we got to the CPC championships, the Canopy Piloting Circuit championships, and top 10 got to go to the Pro Swoop Tour. Back when the Pro Swoop Tour was a thing.
Sure.
And we made it out to Colorado, and I edged out Tommy by less than a point.
Nice.
For the championship.
Nice.
And that was my goal, is I was going to go, and I wanted to get gold, but my goal was to finish in the top 10. I wanted to go to the PST, and of course I was pushing for gold.
PST. Oh, yeah. That's back in the day.
Yep.
That's back in the day, because I was working at Wildwood when the PST tour would still go through Wildwood, and they'd jump in there, and I was doing cross keys, and then we'd go do the boogie in Wildwood for the PST tour.
Yep.
Fucking hell. Well, in the FLCPA, cheers to Al. President Al, man.
Yep,
Fucking hell.
Al.
By the way, you owe me another podcast. You said you'd come on, so because he's president now.
Yeah, he's the president of the USPA.
When do you get to talk to a president?
He ran, man, that guy ran the FLCPA for I don't even know how many years, and that swoop tour wouldn't be what it is without him.
Yeah.
And now, cheers to Kurt and Jeannie. They've taken it over, and they're doing a great job with it. But man, if it wasn't for Albert,
sure,
I don't know where that would have gone. Before him, it was Justin Thornton and Chris Hayes, and there was a bunch of people that were.
Well, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, the PST and all the other stuff just kind of went by the wayside, so it's good.
Yep.
So now you're making the conscious decision to become a pro swooper. You're going to go out and you're going to compete. Walking into this, do you know, I'm never really going to make any money doing this, and I'm going to spend a fortune traveling, and no one outside of skydiving has a clue? Or
Nope.
were you walking into it thinking, fame and fortune, I'm going to be a rock star?
I was walking into it thinking it's going to be a really cool experience. It's something that I want to do, and maybe it'll wind up in the Olympics someday. National Olympic Committee, whoever it is,
sure.
The IOC or International Olympic Committee, I think.
Yes.
If you guys are watching this, that'd be really fucking cool. But, it's time.
I think the tunnel's going to make it before swooping.
It probably will.
Yeah, which is cool. I think that's amazing too. But so you walk into it just going, all right, this is going to be really cool and fun.
Yeah, it's going to be cool and fun. This is something I want to do. I took it really serious that year, and then I kind of chilled for a little bit, went back to making money because, like you said, there's no money to be had in competing. At least back then there wasn't. I mean, prize money would be like you would get your money back that you put in for the competition.
Sure.
And I mean, at that time we didn't even have medals.
Sure.
So like I see like Kurt putting up his medals and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have any medals from my beginning days. We would get like a pat on the back, handed an envelope with, some portion of the money that we paid for it.
And an Arby's gift card.
And you'd move on your way. I mean, I think the championships was the first medal I actually got. I think your dog just farted.
Maybe. It wasn't me.
You sure it wasn't
I
you?
would. I would. But no.
I know you would, but...
No, I think it was the dog. She groans a lot.
Maybe it was a groan.
Yeah.
But it sounded like a fart.
I mean, that's actually one of the things that gives me a lot of respect for the guys that are going balls out competing now is even now with bigger prize money and all that stuff, there's still not much into it. You're doing it for the love of it.
And that's exactly it. And that's what it should be about.
Sure.
Competition shouldn't be about amazing prize money. It shouldn't be about all the rest of this stuff. I mean, it would be great if it was. It'd be great if we got paid like professional athletes, like football players and basketball players and stuff like that. I mean, that'd be amazing.
Well, I've long believed that sport should pay according to their level of danger.
If that's the case, then we're definitely up
way
there.
underpaid.
We're way underpaid.
Yeah. Well, so the
For
thing
stunts
with
as well.
yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, but especially the competing stuff, because you go into it knowing, all right, that this is just purely for the joy of it, and which is great. But to get to the top of the game, which if you're going to get into it, obviously you have the drive to want to get to the top, takes a fuckload of training jumps, which means that working and training properly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I was lucky enough. I was working at a couple of really good drop zones. I was down in a drop zone in Georgia. It used to be ASC. It used to be the Skyride drop zone. We won't talk about that.
No.
But as I stayed out of the politics, as a jumper, I was making a lot of jumps, and every single time I did camera, I used it as a training jump.
sure.
And I mean, it's not the same because I'm not jumping with lead. I'm not able to do that stuff. But I was making it a point to work on accuracy, to work on sight picture, getting the gates, and then I would just need to put weight on and adjust for it.
Sure.
And that's the way that's been my philosophy for everything. I don't train, and it drives some people crazy. It drives my wife crazy. She's like, "Why don't you just fucking train?" I'm like, "I just don't train."
Right.
The first time I trained is when I was with the team, and that was my full-time job, was competing.
Sure. Now, what do you think after all the competitions and all the years, what's the highlight for competing?
For me, I mean, it was winning the world championship of swoop freestyle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for sure. I mean, anybody that says other than that is crazy.
Just describe that event, the location, the fucking event, the people.
I mean, it was incredible. Swoop freestyle, it used to be swoop challenge for a couple years, and then they got the FAI approval and became swoop freestyle. And the event was in downtown Copenhagen, which in itself, I mean, is incredible. We're landing on these small little lakes that are sandwiched in between buildings that are 5, 6, 7 stories high.
Yep.
Which kind of fucks with your sight picture because you're flying over these buildings and you're doing your turn, and then you're passing by the buildings and onto the lake where there's I think the year that I won, I think they had a record of almost 100,000 people that came out there over the 2 days of the competition.
100,000 people to watch you guys land parachutes.
To watch us land parachutes on a little inflatable raft in the middle of these lakes.
I mean, it's one thing to have 100,000 views of a cool video on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, but you had 100,000 people go, all right, hey, we got to get in the car and go down because those fucking guys are landing parachutes on the lake.
Yep.
That's fucking cool.
It was pretty cool. I mean, people were just camped out all day. They had food venues and all kinds of stuff around, and people were just kicked back on the grass watching us fucking swoop. It was insane.
Yeah. I would go watch that. Yeah. I would, as a non-jumper, I would go watch that. That's badass. There's a few events in skydiving I wouldn't go out and watch, but that's one of them.
I mean, there was somebody landing on the pond every 3 minutes, roughly.
So, and it's the big white raft on the pond, and you got to. So I'm assuming you get extra points if you actually manage to stop on the raft.
So you get judged for your turn, time on water, the trick and how it's performed, and then your landing. So on the raft, off the raft, stand up, slide in, turning around, clawing for dear life. All of it is judged.
That's my favorite bit of watching those videos, is watching people hit that raft, and it's a long fucking raft. I mean, How long is it? It's a couple 100 feet, yeah?
No. It's about the same size as the peas. So it's about.
So not nearly as big as it looks on the video.
No,
but
it looks really big in the video, but it's not that big. I think it's. I don't know. I want to say it's maybe 6 meters across and maybe 25 meters long.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was much bigger.
No.
All right, that makes it a little bit more understandable because it's fucking hilarious every time somebody hits that raft and they are just literally trying to put everything they can down.
Well, I mean, it's extra points, right?
It's fucking great.
So I mean, it was an incredible competition, and the coolest thing by far, even beside winning it, was listening to the crowd. If you could collect yourself after landing,
Sure.
And I was lucky enough to land on the raft. Luck and skill kind of played into both. But when I landed on the raft and my emotions are going high, and then you hear the roar of the crowd around you, was just insane. I understood what professional athletes felt like at
Sure.
that moment. And for the first time, I actually felt like a professional athlete.
Sure. Well, and then you get off the raft, you get on a boat, and you get taken over. It was Regan talking, wasn't it?
Regan for some, and Peter Irish for some of the other ones.
And then you're on a stage with the camera shoved in your face asking how you feel.
On live TV.
Right?
Yeah.
How fucking cool is that, man? It's well, and I've watched your video as well. You didn't seize up like some of the football players. Oh, yeah, no, I just went out there and tried to... You actually were super amped and super excited.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you've got the adrenaline of landing on the raft, or the adrenaline of just throwing down this awesome trick, and then you're boated over, you're dropping your stuff off, and you're literally kicking out of your gear and walking up, and there's a microphone in your face.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome.
Are you, obviously you're kind of pulling out all the stops, but do you find yourself ignoring alarm bells to go a little bit bigger in an event like that?
So, yes and no. We always know what our limit is, right? And this is something that I talk to anybody. Know what your limit is, know where you are and what you're capable of doing, and dial it back. And Kurt may get on here, or Nick may get on here, or Pablo Hernandez, or any of the professional swoopers may come on with you and say something different. But in my opinion, and this is the philosophy I take into competition, it's a philosophy I take into stunts.
Yep.
I know what my limit is, and I dial it back a little bit. I would much rather dial it back a hair, get a good score, than push so hard that I either hurt myself or I zero the round.
Sure.
So it's finding that balance. When
Sure.
it comes to a stunt, I know what my limitations are, or a demonstration jump. I know where I am, and I always dial it back 10%. I always want that extra 10% in case shit goes bad.
It's a fucking good idea. Speaking of Pablo Hernandez, by the way,
Yep.
Dude, fucking badass, showing us old fuckers can still do it, coming across the water in a recent competition like this. Dude, that was what a great shot. What a great shot. I mean, that was all the way around.
Peace sign with the nut grab.
Yeah, man, super fun. Actually, I thought he was throwing up a metal sign.
He may have. He
grabbing
may have.
his balls and just breaking across the water. It was amazing. It was good stuff. So now you've got exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, I've got some cool stuff coming up.
Can you tell me about it, or can you be sneaky about telling me about it?
I could be a little bit sneaky. I can't really talk about it too much.
I'm not blowing you. I'm just trying to get the wine.
I didn't know what that was.
You're not drinking enough. You're making me look like an alcoholic. Finish that. You give the guy wine. There you go. Good man.
Does that make you feel better? Now you don't feel like as much of an alcoholic.
That makes me feel better. That makes me feel better. All right, so tell me, what do you got coming up?
Well, I've been recovering from the second shoulder surgery for a while. I've got some shit going on with my back and my neck, as always us old guys do.
Every fucking skydiver I know.
From some wonderful working jumps that I've just had some issues, some bad openings and stuff like that. So I'm just rehabbing, and I've been doing some consulting work. Just trying to make some money on the side while I haven't been jumping. So I've been helping set up a couple drop zones.
Nice.
Working with some new startups that have been amazing, and they've got some cool stuff going on. I think I've been with Fly Seychelles Skydiving Center, so they just opened their doors. Shout out to Gabor and Francesco over there. They did their first boogie a couple of months ago, and they're getting ready for a really big boogie in, I think, April or May. They got some really good talent coming over there. The guys from Airwax, who you've interviewed.
Yes.
Yep, so they're going to be over there.
Right there.
Yep, they're going to be over there. Omar is going to be over there.
Awesome.
So I think they're going to be doing some rad stuff, and it's the start of something that should be pretty amazing.
Well, and the Seychelles is fucking stunning. That's where I went and got married.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So you're married now?
I am married.
You got married since the last time?
I did. Yes.
You did that while I was away on on vacation?
I did. Well, we kind of had to sneak
had no
away.
choice, huh?
Well, yeah, we kind of had to sneak away because I was recovering from the neck surgery, and the recovery took a lot fucking longer than it was supposed to. So my vacation was all gone. So it was like, well, I'm on the couch eating drugs right now. I might as well be, on a beach eating drugs. Because we were planning on getting married in October. That got postponed. So we went and did it in the Seychelles. So if you want a fucking boogie, a destination boogie to go jump, there's really not that many that you choose from. The Seychelles should be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty cool place.
Seychelles, Maldives, fucking, and then Egypt, of course.
And Egypt was incredible. I was just I was invited out to Egypt. I wasn't jumping, unfortunately. That kind of bummed me out, but I was still invited out there. I needed to do a visa run, so I did a visa run, and it just so happened to coincide with the boogie, so I got to go out and hang out with all these rad people that I hadn't seen in a
Red Bull
long time.
Boys fucking wingsuiting the pyramids.
Dude, I was there watching
It was Fred
and Ezekote and Mike Swanson shooting video and stuff like that, and I was right there in the landing area when those guys were doing it, and it was fucking insane.
Has to be. I mean, so the pyramids are enormous, but they're not so big that you stand at the base of the pyramids and look at the top and go, oh yeah, wingsuit's got a lot of room. Like, that's still fucking hardcore, man.
It's still fucking low. Like, I would have loved to have been at the top getting video looking down as they were buzzing it.
Yeah.
That would have been fucking sick.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hey, we can all wish for...
Yeah.
for
Still,
amazing
though,
things.
I mean, talk about amazing. And that's an amazing spot as well.
It's an amazing spot. The organizers of the boogie, Jump Like a Pharaoh, they did a great job of getting people in and out of there. And it was just me sitting on the ground, watching this kind of stuff going on, and saying hi to people, kissing babies, shaking hands,
Yeah,
all
why not?
that
Why not?
good stuff while I was there. I mean, it was perfect timing. Nicole got to do some jumps. She said it was absolutely incredible jumping out of C-130 and looking down at the pyramids, and they just look so tiny.
Has to be. I had Ty Huka on the podcast not that long ago, and we talked about the flight that we got to do from the Middle East to Switzerland and back. And the air traffic controllers on the way out had routed us flying directly over the pyramids, and on the way back, weather caused us to have to land in Cairo, and that's why we got to see. Yeah, it was a fucking bummer, man. So we got to see the pyramids, but on the way there, I think it was even more impressive for me as a jump pilot and a long-time otter pilot to be flying a jump to an otter accidentally over not planned, over the pyramids, taking pictures, going, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I mean, it's a different thing as a tourist to just be, even a pilot that actually, that had to land there.
That's not where you lost your phone, is it?
No, I lost my phone in Greece.
As an otter pilot, you for ages, you've always, and I hope this doesn't get you in trouble, but you've either thrown water out of the window at me while I've been on the step before. Marshmallows have come by me and hit me in the back of the head, and it just so happened that you stuck your phone out one time, and it just went.
I am not the first otter pilot to do it, nor will I be the last otter pilot. Woody, I'm talking to you. I know you've dropped your phone. And yes, actually, the marshmallow idea for any otter pilots that are out there, or any aircraft you fly jumpers in where you can get to the window there, marshmallows are fucking amazing on jump run. It's hilarious because I will admit it. I was not paying as much attention to flying the plane as I was throwing marshmallows out the window at you guys. But it's so much fun just seeing people getting pelted with all these little sugar balls. It's fun.
It was fun. I mean, if I had known that it was coming beforehand, I would have probably turned around and tried to catch one in my mouth,
pretty much.
Try to grab it as it was coming by. Probably would have knocked out my teeth.
Of course. Yeah, the phone bit, I talked to Ty about it, and it was so funny because I had rolled the window down, and of course you're doing the pictures and stuff like that, and I wanted a view of as much of the fuselage and the tail as I could get with this amazing background, and we're over a lake just crossing over the mainland of Greece, and the phone's getting a little further and a little further and a little further, and then all you hear is a funk. And I turn and I look at Ty, and Ty's looking at me with his eyes about that fucking big, and my immediate thought was, fuck, go get it. And then I think I took probably a second or two for it to process, and then I started pissing my pants laughing.
Well, I'm sending fucking messages to you because you were supposed to check in with me. Like, we had this whole thing set up. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Because leading up to it, your co-pilot was a complete fucking jackass.
We talked about that as well. He lost his passport in a bag of biltong.
All kinds of stuff. And
I'm going to say that again. He lost his passport in a bag of biltong. For Americans, that's beef jerky.
A paper bag that he shoved underneath the kitchen sink or something like that, and found it afterwards.
Yeah.
And you were so convinced you were gonna die. You're like, this is my last will and testament.
Well,
these are the passwords to my computer. If anything happens, at this point, he's like, just make sure Bailey gets everything.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Like
you heard that, Bailey. You get everything.
Yeah. So all this is going on, and then your check-in time to land comes, and I'm like sending you a message. I'm like, how was the flight?
Yeah.
Where you at? Are you there?
Yeah.
Dean, how was the flight? Like, wait a little bit. Okay, you must not have landed yet. About an hour later. Oh, you must have gotten delayed. What's going on? You land yet? Nothing.
Meanwhile.
And meanwhile, my brain's going, I'm like, Ty fucking killed him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my, at the time, then 2-month-old iPhone 10 was at the bottom of a fucking lake in Greece. Because it went out of the plane in Greece, just over the lake, boom, down.
Well, finally, like I send your the chief pilot a message. I'm like, hey, have you heard from these guys? He goes, oh yeah. Dean apparently lost his phone mid-flight. They landed. They're good.
And here's when I knew I had a problem with technology and having a phone to check and all that stuff. Is the instant we landed in Switzerland, I was like, where's a car and an iPhone store? That's it.
Well, there was more than that. You were like, what are the reservations? Where are we staying tonight? What company did we have the car with? Because everything
was on my fucking phone. Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, so regardless to say, everything I now have information in multiple spots. But the other reason I was nervous about that flight wasn't nearly as much that my co-pilot can be a bit interesting at times. It was that I have flown approximately like 2 hours cross country in the last fucking 10 years. You just, as a jump pilot, you don't fly cross country. I go up, I go down, I go home. I'm over the same airport all the time. Emergency procedures are simple. What happens if the electrical system fails? I land. What happens if you lose the engine? I land. What if you have a fuel leak? Fucking land. The airport's right down there. It's very simple.
It's point A to point A.
What happens if all this happens? I tell everybody to get out and I fucking land. It's just, so it's very, very easy. Now all of a sudden you're, flying past Mount Sinai on your way to fly past fucking the pyramids and over the entire Mediterranean with a guy in his underwear.
I forgot about that.
Yes, with a guy in his underwear, and as soon as you're, past the point of no return over the Mediterranean, it sinks in that, oh, shit, where's that book that says all the shit I'm supposed to do? You start to get very aware, and then the oh, wait a second, I'm supposed to be a professional pilot starts to kick in, and you're like, okay, I need to double check all this stuff because this is not flying skydivers right now.
Yeah.
Hats off to professional pilots that actually go places.
From point A to point B, not point A to point A.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, hats off. So you've got a bunch of stuff going on. You're doing consultation.
Consultation stuff. I'm getting ready to move countries. Can't talk about too much yet, but I'm gonna take another consulting role, and
nice.
I'm gonna be helping another country kind of help start skydiving from the ground up for civilians.
Nice.
So it's gonna be an amazing opportunity to go there and kind of help them kind of write the rules, so to speak.
Did you think
build a foundation for essentially their version of the USPA.
Sure. Now, did you think even 5 years ago that this was something that would eventually be?
No, I mean, I figured 5 years ago I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to start my own drop zone somewhere and kind of do my own thing. And, I like playing with other people's money instead of my own.
I talked to a friend that I work with that said his ultimate dream has become being a drop zone owner that's also the pilot, screaming at his instructors for not fucking up his drogues. He's like, I want to fly a fucking 182 or a 206, and when the last one's out, I want to roll it over.
Cheers to that.
And fucking yell at somebody for taking too long to chuck the drogue. And it soaked in, and he and I talked about that as well. There's not a lot of directions for professional, lifelong skydivers to go if this has been your gig forever, right? It's own a drop zone. It's become a professional rigger or all these things. But where does skydiving lead when you can't chuck drogues anymore?
I mean, but it goes back to the beginning, right? You start skydiving, you start as a packer. Well, most places, right?
Sure.
You start as a packer. Once you get enough jumps, because you've packed enough that you can jump, you get a coach rating. You start doing coaching jumps. You get a static line AFF or IAD rating. You start working with students, or you get a tandem rating. And then you get, somewhere in there, you become a videographer if you can afford a camera. I remember, I had, I don't know how many jumps I had before I actually had a video camera because I couldn't fucking afford it.
Sure.
So I was doing static line jumps, or I was doing tandem jumps because I didn't need as much equipment.
That was the only problem I didn't have in skydiving.
And then for me, I got my rigger's ticket. I got my examiner rating. I became an evaluator first, and then I got my examiner ratings. I did everything I could do to make money in the sport that I love.
Sure.
And then finally, this now it's a consulting thing.
Sure. Well, all right, but here's the thing, though, is in order to get a job doing something like consulting and skydiving, there's not that many of those jobs out there, right?
No.
I mean, it's a small sport, but it's still, we're talking about a couple 100,000 strong, right? How many of those people become, working skydivers, but how many of those, how sustainable is that for everybody? I'm lucky. I was able to turn it into a flying career that led me back to skydiving, but I came back to skydiving as a choice. Yeah. But I got lucky with the operations that I was able to fly for. And I got really lucky just in being able to fly initially. But there's not that many people that get that lucky. So skydiving can be a rough choice if you want to make a lifelong career out of it.
It can be. I mean, my life, I chose skydiving. Like my after September 11th in the aviation industry went to shit. I was working a professional job in aviation.
So was I.
And I chose skydiving as opposed to looking for another job. And I mean, I turned down at the time, which was good money, $50,000, $60,000 a year at the time. This is, long time ago.
Sure.
Long time ago. But I turned down really good paying jobs with airlines because I just felt that gravity towards skydiving.
Sure.
I wanted to be a full-time skydiver. And then I looked at some of the cool shit that other people do, and I was like, I want to do that.
I don't know what she's doing.
Is she farting again?
No, my dog is just spinning circles on the floor.
I think she's going to shit right in front of us.
Sit down, please.
But anyway, I mean, as you're almost falling out.
Yeah.
I think it's about time to end this podcast.
No, we're good.
The dog's spinning circles. Dean's falling out of the chair. The bottle of wine's almost empty. But no, I mean, it's one of those things that it's difficult to make a living in skydiving full time. The retirement plan as a professional skydiver isn't really there. For you skydivers are living paycheck to paycheck, man, start putting some money aside. Don't go out and have those filet mignon dinners, that sushi dinner. Put some of that money aside. Don't go out and drink so much, put some of that money aside, because unfortunately there's not a lot left for us as professional skydivers.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's not a whole lot of direction to go. There really isn't. But, I mean, again, those people that are the hardcore, somebody like Omar or somebody like you or even me that had the opportunity to leave the sport and go to a different life. I mean, I quit an airline that I was supposed to be upgrading to captain to come back to flying skydivers because fuck the airlines. It's just not my thing.
You also had a good gig, though. You had a good gig lined up.
Sure. Absolutely.
You're definitely not flying airlines now, not with those sleeves.
Man, that's exactly why I fucking got to. Well, you remember, man. I intentionally went, what's the one thing I never ever wanted to go back to an airline? I'm going to get that sleeve tattoo I was always thinking of.
I mean, technically you could still cover it up, but...
Well, actually, now I think airlines cannot keep from employing you. You just have to cover them up.
I mean, you could say you're a girl and they still have to employ you.
Yeah, Zims or whatever. Yeah.
So,
do you think? So, how do people track you? How do they follow you? How do they find out what the fuck's going on? How do they find out this mystery consulting gig that's eventually coming?
So once everything
tell
happens,
the camera.
Once everything happens in the future, easiest way to track me is David_Ludvik at David_Ludvik for Instagram. DavidLudvik.com is my website, which is still kind of in the development stages, under maintenance kind of right now. But
it's been under maintenance for a while, hasn't it?
Well, I think the dog just ate something.
Oh, yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
Nope, the dog just ate.
No,
whatever.
no, she just unplugged you.
Oh, she unplugged me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
So,
Bad
dog.
Keep going.
So yeah, so David_Ludvik for Instagram, DavidLudvik.com. I'm on Facebook. David Ludvik in junior in quotations is the easiest way to track me. What's kind of going on, and we'll see what happens.
Cool.
Coming up in the future. I mean, my life's taken a different turn from what it was before. But you never know. You never know what happens. If the health gets back to 100%, then you may see me on a swoop pond or.
Hey, dude, I'll
God
tell
knows
you
what's
what.
gonna happen.
It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a comeback. I mean, I just had Nick Batch on, and holy fuck, what a story!
Yeah, man. Nick's been a long time friend, and I was rooting him on when I found out he was going to the competition. Nicole and I were sending him messages like, you can do this, kick ass. Don't let those young guys, take advantage of you. Show what you can do. And he was, responding back the entire U.S. Nationals, and man, he came back and he
now he's a fucking
won the
champion
whole thing.
again.
So, shout out to you, Nick. Great job. And just for everybody that's doing it at our age, keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I think age is all, for the most part.
Age is in your mind.
I'm a lot stiffer than I used to be when I was younger, but I still think I'm 18.
I mean, I definitely, my body hurts every day, but hey,
fair enough.
I mean, what do I do? Do I stop doing what I'm doing?
Nah, man. It's the price you pay.
Yeah. So I found new sports now. I do more stuff as well. I'm kiteboarding and
nice
and doing other shit too.
We need to start doing yoga like we used to.
My wife will tell you 100%. She tries, and I'm sorry, Nicole. My wife said Nicole went and got her yoga instructor rating. She's a yoga teacher, and it's difficult for her to get on the mat.
It's different when it's your wife or your family.
I mean, she tries to to make these plans that go towards where I'm. She's like, where are you in pain today? Like my back, my neck, my shoulder. She's like, okay, we're gonna do some stuff to work on that. And I'm a terrible fucking student.
Yeah, I have no doubt. But most teachers generally are.
Yep.
Dude. First video podcast.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on again.
I don't lose too many people from that one.
I mean,
it went really well.
It went well.
We didn't fuck it up.
Not too bad. I mean, the dog unplugged my mic.
That's okay. And farted.
She farted.
We think.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Lunatic Fringe, Into the Void. You're obviously watching this on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram, the Lunatic Fringe Podcast. It's on Facebook, Lunatic Fringe, Into the Void. Tell everybody, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to try and do these video ones as often as possible, but I am also going to be putting up kick-ass videos from all the guests that I have. That means fuckers like this guy right here are going to send me, stop procrastinating, all the amazing shit that they've been doing so that I can steal the credit for their accomplishments. That's what I'm after, all right? No, we're just trying to share the love. So again, hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time on Lunatic Fringe.
See you next time.
See ya.
Cheers.